So yeah, how do we make that work? We got the model. How do we make that model work within our traditional space? Again, we're relatively lucky in that our online school is housed out of a location that has a fair bit of excess space and a lot of underutilized space. So this slide here with the three pictures shows what a rough sense of what our current situation at vLearn is. On the far right, that's sort of our big common room. And we have reception there. There's teacher workstations spread out at different points around the room. We can see a central seating area there. Up on the side walls, there's a number of student workstations, which sort of zoomed in as that middle picture. And usually we have banks of about 4 or 5 computers for students to work at. And on the left, that's typical. We have 2 or 3 of these smaller size breakout rooms that are sort of underutilized at the moment, and they work perfect for some of those small group and project-based stuff that, or even those one-on-one sessions that Jane had alluded to. So here's an overall floor plan of the current space occupied by vLearn. As you can see, if we look at the far right side, there is a number of rooms that are completely empty and not currently being used at all. On top of that space that's not being used, as I mentioned, a number of these breakout rooms and some of these spaces, they're just underutilized. We are stationed in what used to be the top floor of an elementary school, so certain things like the student washrooms, for instance, because they were in an elementary school, they're full size. We're equipped to handle a large number of students. Our staff room is fully equipped. There's stove, fridge, sink. We have a lot of pieces that can sort of pull double duty. So whether you wanted to offer some sort of a lab space for home ec type things, we can easily convert that with our staff room. Some of these empty classrooms can easily be turned into lab spaces, depending on the needs and where we decide to take this. But the main idea is that it's a pretty flexible space, and without working on set timetables and things, there's a lot of things we can do with the existing space. Ultimately, there's very few, if any, modifications would need to take place to the actual physical layout. It's more just the addition of a little bit of equipment. And when we start looking at equipment and the costs that are going to be associated with this, it's really quite minimal. When we took a look at staffing is obviously the biggest cost of any program, but from the district perspective, there should really be no net FTE increase. It's simply a reallocation of the existing staff. Because we're not drawing any more students to the district, we're just simply offering choices to the existing schools. It really is just moving FTE and teaching assignments from one location to the other. Most of the equipment already present, we can share a lot of it with vLearn. Some of the stuff that we need, you can see highlighted on the slide. We figured we'd try to up the number of individual stations and flexible stations in the form of Chromebooks. We're just short on chairs and desks and some of those things for these empty classrooms. If you're keen on the numbers, you'll add these numbers up. You'll find they don't actually come out to 13 grand. It's because we built in there roughly a 10% margin just for overages and some of those things. There's also several places, even though this I don't think is a large sum of money, there is a lot of places where we may even get away with less than this. There are a lot of schools that have been renovated. We have one elementary school completely closed. It's full of chairs and desks and these things. So we might be able to salvage a lot of things from those places that are just not being used. Also with the Chromebooks, we're looking at moving towards Google Apps for Ed. I know there's discounts associated with Chromebooks if you're using that program as well. So overall, not very expensive. Well, there it goes. So lastly, how do we actually hit the ground running and put this plan into motion? So what we see, in order to get this off the ground, we're going to need an autonomous team. We need a group that's going to be able to work outside of the confines of the traditional system. And this is sort of a rough visual of how we see this playing out. So we need, first off, the principle of our current alternate programs. All programs is the natural place where this program would fall under, given that it's going to be housed with vLearn, which also falls under all programs. We need to have teachers Teachers preferably with an online or blended learning background, they're going to be able to provide the expertise. We're going to need a director of teaching personnel. She's going to be the one that's going to be able to speak to all our staffing issues and make sure we have all that squared away. That's going to work closely with our principals of our district's face-to-face schools, as well as the counselors in those schools who currently do all the course timetabling for all the students. So it's those course timetables and their projected enrollment numbers that really drive the FTE numbers at the board office. So we really need everyone sort of together and on the same page for how we can effectively allocate these FTE. Obviously, anything with money, we're going to need a secretary or our assistant secretary treasurer. He's going to be able to take a look at our proposal and see if there's any hidden costs that maybe we haven't thought of and make sure we get put in as a line item on next year's budget. And lastly, we really went back and forth with whether we wanted some of these interest groups at the table present with us, and ultimately we settled on, for the trustees, parents, and students, we'll be looking to get input from these groups throughout the whole process, but we don't think that they need to actually be sitting at the table with us. So I think that is more or less it. So we thought we'd leave you with a quote that we like from John Dewey. And see if anyone has any questions.
Fantastic stuff, you guys. Well done. So much thought put into this. So I have to ask, I know this assignment was kind of a simulation, but this looks or sounds like it's real. Is this, does this have legs? Is this going anywhere?
Hopefully, yeah. Our hope was this is very much sort of a first draft of I get some meetings with some teachers that I used to teach with that are now working in the board office in varying roles and capacities, and we're actually, both me and Jane are having a breakfast meeting with them next Tuesday, and we're hoping to run some of this stuff by them and how to get their opinion. And absolutely, we'd like to try to take this to our board and see about having this as a very real expansion into what we're already doing. Don't know if we'll be able to get it in the budget for this year, but definitely get that ball rolling and see if we can't get something happening.
That's fantastic. I kind of got that impression. That's great, and it looks excellent. I don't know if it's me. I'm super tired, but can you guys walk me through just what I was having a hard time wrapping or even conceptualizing what a student's day would look like, and I know it's personalized and individualized, but as it's a flex model, would it be expected that students would attend every day in some capacity, and how would that part be tracked?
No, I don't think, in the end, Justin, I don't think that's what we visualize at all. I think if we went back to that continuum slide, at first it would definitely be a requirement for students to meet with the teachers, for teachers to have a set number of students kind of under them for them to be able to mentor. But what we've found a lot with right now is we have some students with our online courses that do very well and only need to come in and see us every once in a while. And we have others that could practically live at the school if we would let them. So I think in the beginning, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, we envisioned this as being set up so it was a requirement at the beginning, and then seeing how students progress and see how they work through the content, it would be less structured for them to have to come in and meet with us.
Fantastic. It's a great answer. And, you know, it really strikes a chord with me because I'm teaching at a DL school and we've moved to a blended model, and it's, you know, it's somewhere between a flex and a virtual enriched, and it looks a lot like this. And we just got permission to move into a new elementary school, so out of the high school. So very pertinent, and I like that. I think you're bang on with that because just like you said, in my experience as well, some students work very well independently, and you know, a weekly check-in, or even once a month, or whatever it is, or even in a synchronous or a virtual check-in is just fine. And other students sort of basically live in our room and need that day-to-day attention. And I think that's, you know, I reflect back on your continuum. It really clicks. So thanks so much for that answer. It makes it all clear, and yeah, I really agree with that. So just going over my notes quickly, just an excellent presentation. presentation, very well organized, and I can't find any fault with it. So perfect work on your presentation. I really like how you tied in with the BC Ed plan. I'm a big fan of sort of doing things that are practical, and I know that it's something that my teaching partner and I are working with as our grade 9 cohort is adapting the new curriculum. I'm sure just like you, it's on the forefront of things that we're working with. And again, I'd like to continue in the flexibility and being able to move sort of both directions on the spectrum as is needed by the student, which I think really addresses that individualization. I thought you did a great job of addressing, I'm just going through my notes here, fantastic job addressing the role of the of all parties and of the team. And so the decision, to have an autonomous team, I think, is well served as well. And yeah, so that's the feedback I have. I'd love to put it out to anyone else if there's any other questions. I've kind of been hogging the stage here. Go ahead, Mel.
I just wanted to say, as always, I'm very impressed with what Chris and Jane's doing. I think it's very cool that they're actually being able to implement what they're learning and working together, having someone that's taking the course together. I was lucky enough to work with the two of them on a project, one course. And, so I'm not surprised. I really liked the way that you guys thought about including people to the team that held the purse strings, so to speak, so clerical and accounting. And that's something that I haven't really thought about, but it makes so much sense. So I like that, and I found it interesting to note that your district's also using Chromebooks. So not that we are, I wish we were, but it's kind of nice to see that there are a number of people going that way.
Thanks, Mel. That's awesome. I should probably clarify a little bit. We're not currently using Chromebooks. I'm on our technology committee for our district, and that's one of the directions the gentleman who oversees all that. He's looking at having vLearn do a pilot project with Google Apps for Ed, with the hope that that's maybe where our district can go in the future. So that's where it's sort of it's still a pipe dream at this point, but I think we can work it in there for sure. Yeah, I think with the with the cost being fairly reasonable, it's certainly and if a district is willing to adopt the Google, then it certainly makes a lot of sense, and I've kind of came to the same conclusion as well, and we're in the same boat trying to see if that's our next steps. But at this point, anything would be an improvement over the dinosaurs that inhabit our room. So yeah, it's good. Go ahead. Yeah.
For your web tour, to get the slides to actually show for others as going through, how did you do that? When I did the web tour before, the slides proceeded for me, but not for others.
All I did was at the top where the URL goes, there's just a little checkbox that says "Follow me," and when I click on the "Follow me" button, everyone else can still control what slide they want to go to, but as soon as I do something, it overrides whatever you're doing and takes you where